Fury has been unleashed on the Secret Service after Donald Trump narrowly escaped an assassination attempt over the weekend. The Secret Service was humiliated following their incompetent response to the shooting, with very serious questions now being asked of what should be the most elite security organisation in the world. Sky News All-Stars James McPherson, Danica DiGiorgio and Alex Stein take a look at how the Secret Service let down Donald Trump. Donald Trump came as close to death as anyone could on Saturday evening in Pennsylvania. A bullet from a lone shooter on a rooftop grazed his ear, narrowly missing his head in what could have been a catastrophic disaster for the former president. The initial images of the Secret Service leaping on top of Donald Trump and escorting him off stage were shared across the globe. But as the dust settles, serious questions are being asked of this supposed elite security organisation by Sky News All-Stars James McPherson and Danica DiGiorgio.
Trump survived the assassination attempt, but the attack raises at least 4 key questions that now need to be asked. First and not least of which, is there a leak in the Secret Service? Danica, there's a couple of really interesting things about the events of earlier today. Firstly, how was a sniper able to position himself on a rooftop with clear line of sight just over 100 metres from Donald Trump? Second, how was it that people in the crowd spotted the sniper before anyone from the Secret Service did? And third, how was it that while police tried to find this suspicious individual, who numerous people had pointed out, Trump was allowed to stand on stage and continue speaking? The moment that there was suspicion that something was afoot, Trump should immediately have been removed from the stage. I want to show you an interview that was broadcast earlier with a witness who alerted security services to the fact there was a man on a roof with a gun.
We noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us. He had a rifle. We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots rang out.
James, this is unbelievable. I mean, this witness clearly speaks very well. He was able to clearly articulate exactly what he had seen. So to give him the benefit of the doubt, you've got to go, well, what on earth happened here? I think this was a complete abject failure by the Secret Service. You do have to now ask, was there in fact a leak? What went wrong here? Because the gravity of the failures cannot be underestimated. In fact, I would say this is catastrophic, because if you have a look at this photo of just how close the bullet came to Donald Trump's face. I think we've got that photo hopefully coming up for you soon. But I mean, it came really literally within millimetres. Here it is now. Look at that. You can see it there in a straight line. One wrong turn, one turn of the face to another way, we would be having a very different conversation tonight.
Sky News All-Star Alex Stein blasted the Secret Service for their lack of professionalism.
But you'd have to ask the question. I mean, that would have to be one of the biggest cock-ups by the Secret Service that we have ever seen.
And it really just doesn't make sense, because when you saw that once he got shot and they piled on top of him, later on Fox News edited this part out, but they even said, what do we do? Because, they practice these role-playing games, these strategies, but once it actually happens, they were in, a state of disbelief, in my opinion.
And former FBI Protections Detail Agent Mike Harrigan agrees, saying this was a failure in protection work for the Secret Service.
The fact that this kid was able to get so close and was able to get a shot away, in your view?
Yeah, in my view, absolutely a failure. In protection work, anytime there's an attack on the principal or your protectee, it's a failure, right? Especially at pre-planned events such as this, where you have time to set up the event and you have time to lay out your security plan, implement your security plan. Always a failure. Now, sometimes those failures can be beyond the reasonable scope of what the Secret Service can and should have done. In this instance, with the shooter, approximately 130 yards away from a rooftop. I mean, that's a very basic tenet of protection work, is to protect your high ground, to clear that area and secure it. So clearly a failure. Now, whether it was a human failure based on an oversight or lack of competency, or maybe the other side could have been a lack of resources that made some tough decisions on the ground for the team leader to put people where he thought the risk was highest. So it'll take a good after-action review here, which is got to be done and will be done, to really look at the circumstances and find out why this happened.
Former Special Assistant to President Donald Trump, Andrew Giuliani, doubled down on this, saying it was a catastrophic security failure not to shut down the high points around the perimeter.
Somebody who's seen the advance for so many different events as I work with President Trump in the White House. I've talked about this time and time again. Secret Service looks at high points that's far outside their perimeter. They look at high points up to 1.5 miles out. If they think there are a couple of people in the world that can make a sniper shot, then they will shut that down. The fact that he was 125 meters away, you're talking about 30 times closer than the longest shot that has ever been made. So to me, this is a catastrophic failure that cost the life of an American, that have 2 people that are critical now because of this failure. And like I said, that nearly cost the life of the 45th president and the leading candidate for president as well.
The Secret Service has also been slammed for diversity hires that contributed to the failures on the day, which Sky News All-Star Danica DiGiorgio describes as fumbling fumbalinas.
Well, as the Secret Service rushed to get Donald Trump away from the chaos, have a look at the fumbling fumbalinas who comprise his security detail.
Joining us from the USA is host of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast, Brad Palumbo. Brad, what's going on with these Secret Service agents? I mean, they can't holster their guns. They're more concerned with securing their sunglasses than securing Donald Trump. They're running around like chooks without heads.
Yeah, it's a real clown show. I mean, we're going to need to have a serious inquisition inside the Secret Service, which is a federal agency, because there's no way to look at this. Everything that went down on Saturday night here in the U.S. and Pennsylvania during this attempted assassination, there's no way to look at it as anything other than a massive failure, both of strategic and execution and planning on behalf of the Secret Service. And also, former presidents don't get the same level of Secret Service protection that they do as actual presidents, and I think we might need to reevaluate that, especially given what went down, because Secret Service did not seem up to snuff on this evening, and the consequences were almost incredibly dire.
And Alex Stein agrees, saying the best people were not hired for the job, thanks to DEI.
This goes back to the DEI. Instead of hiring the best Secret Service you saw, it was a woman trying to carry Donald Trump off the stage, and he wanted to stand up and walk. So I'm not saying this is some sort of inside job. I'm just saying that this is a lack of professionalism by the Secret Service that doesn't care about actually protecting Donald Trump, in my personal opinion.
Commentator Candace Owens agrees, saying we need men in these positions.
But when it comes to the responsibility of guarding the former president of the United States, we need men. Can we acknowledge reality? Are we allowed to acknowledge gender and sex and the natural biological proclivities of men versus women? Are we allowed to do that? Because guess what? I don't care whether I'm allowed to do it. I've been doing it the entire time. I want male pilots. I want male security guards. I want men back, okay? Men back doing male tasks that they are naturally inclined to do because of their body composition, because of the testosterone that is coursing through their veins.
Commentator Matt Walsh also agreed, tweeting, there should not be any women in the Secret Service. And Sky News All-Star James McPherson revealed the concerning DEI focus of the director of the Secret Service, which led to failures in relation to the Donald Trump attempted assassination.
Well, with questions being asked about how the Secret Service allowed a bullet to come within millimetres of killing Donald Trump, a video surfaced showing the agency's boss, Kimberly Cheatham, boasting about a desire to increase diversity.
To expand hiring, they're aiming to have 30% women recruits by 2030, and even allowed YouTube influencer Michelle Carre to train with agents.
But I'm very conscious as I sit in this chair now of making sure that we need to attract diverse candidates and ensure that we are developing and giving opportunities to everybody in our workforce.
Well, that explains a lot, doesn't it?
The Secret Service website says that diversity is a priority that is critical to our success. I would have thought success is making sure shooters don't get within 120 metres of a presidential candidate with a clear range of sight.
Well, look, you'd hope so. It kind of reminds me of our ADF. It's about, you know, hiring on diversity, not necessarily the people who could be doing the right job. But I think that that clip will come back to haunt them now that when they conduct this thorough investigation into what's gone wrong here, because in the end, it's about the right person for the job. Am I right, James?
You know, I was struck by, and we showed the footage earlier of Trump being bundled into the vehicle to get away from the scene, and there were a lot of female Secret Service agents. I don't know if I can say this, Danica. You tell me if I'm out of line. But I'm not sure you want ladies being the first line of protection against potential shooters.
Well, it wasn't just that from that vision, James. The woman was struggling with putting her gun back. There was a woman who was busy then putting her sunglasses on. There was a lot of fumbling around in what were really critical moments, trying to get the president away from that scene and then back into the car again.
But importantly, 30% of the Secret Service are female.
Well, I mean, that's all that matters. It's diversity, James. It's all about diversity.